everyone. Thanks, Magnolia, and it's a pleasure to be here with all of you today. Child Rights Connect, or the former NGO group for the Convention on the Rights of the Child, was created as a small group of NGOs who got together to advocate for the development and adoption of the Convention on the Rights of the Child. Once the convention was adopted, the NGO group was instrumental to set up, let's say, the whole reporting process of the Committee on the Rights of the Child. We really worked closely with UNICEF, OHCHR, and the different agencies involved in shaping up the space for civil society in the framework of the work of the committee, mainly the reporting cycle, but also the other areas like general goal of Child Rights Connect to really build the bridge between civil society at the national level, including children, and the UN Committee on the Rights of the Child, but not only, because we also try really to connect civil society to the whole UN human rights system, and even broader than the UN, than the human rights pillar. There are other mechanisms in the system that we try to promote civil society participation in this global mandate that we have, and also the diversity of our network, which now includes around 90 members from all regions. CRC Asia is one of our members. We have international, regional, and national NGOs who work on children's rights. For the 30th anniversary of the convention in 2019 was to take a step back and look holistically at the situation of civil society participation, but not only, also state participation in CRC reporting. We thought that the 30th anniversary was a good opportunity to just, analyze a little bit what has happened until now, and reflect and use this to reflect the way forward. The report includes the overview of the committee's working methods, which, as you may know, evolve very regularly in relation to state parties, civil society, and children's engagement. We tried to capture as much as possible the evolution, the main milestones changes. So this can be, the reading of this section of this report can be really empowering you to understand how the committee functions and what have been the rationale behind certain decisions. We also included the status of ratifications and reservations, because, as you know, although the ratification status for the CRC is quite known and straightforward, with all states except one who have ratified, the status of reservations is a bit more complicated, and it explains sometimes very much the reasons why the recommendations by the committee are still not fully implemented. We also included the status of state reporting and overdue reports, as well as information on the status of civil society reporting, and a bit not in-depth information on children's own participation. I just wanted to highlight before on ratification that it's still one of the findings is that it's still a major challenge when it comes to small island states, in particular from Asia Pacific, the Pacific region, but also the Caribbean region. There were quite a lot of similarities in terms of lack of ratification of the three optional protocols of the convention. Here are some data in relation to state reporting, where we see that only 43 states have regularly been reporting to the committee, including 12 from the region Asia Pacific. So if you compare to the overall status of ratification, it's quite a low number. We have also 49 states reports that are overdue at the time of the 2019 when we wrote the report. We have noticed that there has been an exponential growth in the level of civil society participation with the CRC Committee, which has been increasingly appreciated by the committee itself. We have seen that the more civil society, have engaged, the more the space has become institutionalized within the committee. Since 1993, an estimated of 4,800 reports have been submitted by civil society globally, and the reports have been submitted on over 95% of all countries. So indeed, it's very encouraging reporting rates. There have been only 3 countries where no information has ever been received by the committee from civil society, which includes Nevis, a country from the region, but have been also some country in Asia Pacific where there never been any information submitted by national NGOs. Because sometimes we only have countries where we have reports by international NGOs, and mainly thematic reports on certain issues. Just to mention a few countries from Asia Pacific where we never really had national NGOs reports, it's like Brunei, Iraq, Marshall Islands, Oman, Papua New Guinea. So there is still quite a lot of work to do. We have seen that the very first experience with the child direct participation in CRC reporting is dated back to 1994, with children from the UK engaging in the reporting process. It has been evolving a lot. Children's participation has happened in different ways, either through the inclusion of children's perspectives into NGO reports drafted by adults, but it also happened through children's own reports, what are called children's reports, and are child-led initiatives where children really take the leading role in drafting, in conducting the research and drafting and submitting the reports. That we have seen that there has been a significant increase in child participation since the committee's working methods on child participation that were adopted in 2014, when the committee, let's say, formalized the participation of children in the CRC reporting process. We have seen that there has been much more clarity for civil society organizations at the national level on how they could support children to collaborate with the committee. The transparency and availability of information has really had an impact on the ability of civil society and NHRIs to support children. Between 2010 and 18, the committee held informal meetings with children from 31 state parties, 3 of which were done through teleconferencing, and this has increased in the last 2 years. However, what we also noticed is that despite this increase in the number of children's reports, the methodology still most frequently used, is for NGOs reports to include children's perspective. So there is still quite a lot of work to do when it comes to supporting child-led participation. And this is where Child Rights Connect is really pushing national actors like you to really use the CRC reporting process as a way to empower children to take their own initiative, to conduct their own activities, and become an opportunity for them to really act as child human rights defenders and conduct advocacy activities through this. When it came to analyzing a bit the progress and the challenges, what we really saw is that the effective engagement in the reporting process, often collaborating with the committee during the process, but also after the publication of the recommendation or on the follow-up. One of the key factors of success is really the coordination at the national level between civil society, among civil society organizations, between civil society and children, but also between civil society, national human rights institutions, UN agencies like UNICEF. The more coordination there is, the better and most effective engagement we see. This is, from a Child Rights Connect perspective, the key lesson. And we can give you a lot of different examples from different countries. And my colleague Fanny will talk about this in the framework of the simplified reporting procedure later on. I want to highlight that not only general coordination is a factor of success, but also having strong national child rights coalitions has proved to be a key element. Coalitions of child rights organizations have borne, thanks to the CRC reporting process. As we heard from Mikiko, the process has been used as an excuse, as a mean to catalyze people on the ground from different NGOs working on different themes in order to come up with the most comprehensive analysis and also reports to the committee. It's a big challenge to ensure that all the rights are covered, because we know that everyone does its own thing and has its own, priority areas. But what's really powerful is to put a bit the priority, your own priority aside, and use the reporting to really look at the gaps. There are so many gaps still when it comes to monitoring certain rights. We have seen through this global report, but also in recent engagement, that there are, for example, certain rights like civil and political rights of children are still neglected, overlooked, both in terms of reporting to the CRC committee, but also other committees, including the Human Rights Committee, which is the one in charge. When it comes to the challenges, there are many, as you can see, but we have seen that there is still lack of coordination, sometimes competition between civil society organizations, but also other actors. We have seen that there is lack of updated and comprehensive information on existence and functioning of national coalitions, which doesn't help to really be all on the same page on who does what and how to maximize this, the context, the national context at the national level. We have created Child Rights Connect together with other organizations, have created what's called TBNet. TBNet is a group of NGOs like Child Rights Connect. There are 7 NGOs. Each of these NGOs works with a specific treaty body. We have an NGO based in Malaysia, for example, which is called EAPRO Asia Pacific, who works specifically with the CEDAW committee. We have another NGO which is called International Disability Alliance, who is the strategic partner of the CRPD committee. We have created this group with the purpose of promoting the engagement with the whole treaty body system and stop, working in silo, as everybody does, including the treaty bodies themselves. So we hope that this opportunity, today's webinar, is also a start of a longer term collaboration between Child Rights Connect, yourselves, as well as TBNet, to really promote a more systematic and coordinated engagement with different treaty bodies, among different NGOs, child rights, disabilities organizations, to really connect the different sectors and mainstream child rights across the borders. So I'll stop here. Thank you very much for your attention.